Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sideline Shenanigans podcast today with Jacob Maggard
Jake Altizer.
Parker Spencer.
Joey Simmons.
and that is going to be the three guys I have on today. You probably have never seen Parker on the channel because he hasn't been here before. So, welcome Parker to the channel. He's going to be my stat guy today, so I'm putting a lot of faith in him in day one on the channel. But he is a ball knower, so we can trust that he will have these statistics down packed for us. Of course, Jake and Joey will be adding just a little bits and pieces to each game we talk about, making their picks. But of course, when we get down the slate a little bit, they'll have their teams that I'll let them go on. Of course, Jake, also being a Virginia Tech student, is going to be a fan of them with me. So we'll talk a lot about them when we get there. But we'll go ahead and start off with game number one here. Ole Miss taking on Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. This is a big one. There's been some very iconic moments in this game. If you remember a few years ago, the celebration of the guy getting down on his legs and then lifting his leg up and peeing on on the goalpost like he was a dog. That did happen, and then they got a 15-yard penalty and missed the extra point to lose the Egg Bowl. So maybe don't do that in the Egg Bowl this year. It's a very fun rivalry, but a heated rivalry. These two teams obviously do not like each other. Looking down at the season, of course, Mississippi State having a bounce back year compared to last year, but still not the season they wanted to have. And Ole Miss 10-1 and looking at a playoff spot. As long as they win this football game, they're pretty much a lock to get into the playoffs. Looking down at this quarterback matchup here, Trinidad Chambliss took over probably 3 to 4 games into the season for Austin Simmons, and they never looked back. Ole Miss found themselves a top tier quarterback. He is a high level elite rusher as a quarterback, but he's also been a really good passing quarterback. As you can see, 2,600 yards, 14 touchdowns, only the 3 interceptions on the season. If he'd have been starting from day one, this guy might be in the Heisman conversation. So, really impressive season from Trinidad Chambliss coming up from the Division two level at Ferris State. On the other side, of course, you have Blake Shapen, quarterback of Mississippi State. Another bounce back season. Again, Mississippi State having one of the worst years in the SEC last year. They haven't been able to find wins in the conference this year, still 1-6. But they've been really close in a lot of these games, and they've looked like a better football team than they have in recent future or recent history. Again, Shapen 2,400 yards, 15 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. That's all in the quarterbacks. And Parker, here's your first step in the in introduction phase. Cover these running backs for me.
Running back wise, you got Kewan Lacey from Ole Miss. He has 231 carries on the year with 1,136 yards and 19 touchdowns. Averages about 4.9 yards a carry. He's
Yeah,
a stud.
yeah,
I
he's going
mean,
to be the primary back for Ole Miss. Of course, this entire season, he's been their guy. He finds the end zone a lot for this team. But again, Trinidad Chambliss brings his own rushing upside. Now, give me those running backs on the Mississippi State side.
Mississippi State, fun fact actually, the actual starter, Devin Booth, will be out the first half due to disciplinary action. And so that brings up Fluff Bothwell with 111 carries, 559 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 5 yards a carry.
Yes, sir. That is it. Fluff Bothwell, of course, transfers in from the group of five level. Had been really good at the beginning of the season, and then Devon Booth kind of took over through the midway point of the year. Started getting a lot of the carries in that backfield, but you're right. With that disciplinary action taking place, Bothwell will have to step back up and be a key contributor in this offense. Mississippi State is going to want to establish the ground game. If they're unable to do that, they're going to be behind the eight ball against a really good Ole Miss football team that can definitely run the ball with Kewan Lacey. Moving down into the receiver matchup here, you have Harrison Wallace the third over at Ole Miss. You know the story from last year. It was Trey Harris, and he was the leading receiver in football basically 3 weeks after his injury. So they had to figure out how to replace a guy that had over 1,000 yards in like 7 games. Harrison Wallace, he hasn't been that good. He hasn't been, the superstar that Trey Harris was, but he's still been a good football player. And with him being a good football player, that's what Trinidad Chambliss was able to go to. But of course, that passing attack is going to be a big part of that offense. On the other side, for the Mississippi State Aggies, or Bulldogs, I should say, my bad. Brennan Thompson is the lead receiver on that side. Nearly 900 yards on the season, 47 receptions, 6 touchdowns. Gets the ball a lot from Shapen, will be the key guy to go to in this offense. Kind of an interesting setup here with the receivers and the running backs because Ole Miss is going to lean more on Kewan Lacey than they are that passing attack. Whereas Blake Shapen is just going to let it fly, and Brennan Thompson's going to touch the ball a lot in this game. Guys, if you guys are seeing these, offensive statistics, Jake, what are you thinking here on the offensive side?
I know that Ole Miss is definitely going to be trying to run the ball a lot more with Lacey, trying to get him started out. They might take a couple shots to Wallace, but I think primarily their attack is going to be hitting the run game. And on the other side for Mississippi State, they're going to run it a little bit, but not nearly as much as they're going to be trying to pass it to Thompson.
Exactly. Yeah, Thompson's going to get the ball a ton. It is going to be important, obviously, that they stop this offensive attack because of the strong pass rush that the Ole Miss Rebels have. Uman Mielen, if you remember that name from last year, he had a brother that was playing in college football, now into the NFL. It is going to be very important that that pass rush is at a high level against Mississippi State. Because again, if you let Shapen sit back there, he can pick you apart. Ask a few SEC schools when they were in those close games. I know they were able to pull it out. Again, that 1-6 record really stands out to you with Mississippi State, but they've been in a lot of close games. This could be a really big bounce back season for the Mississippi State Bulldogs because of how bad they were last year. I think around 2-10. So looking to bounce back. As you can see, this spread is sitting at 7.5 points. Vegas knows this game can be very, very close. It is the 124th year of a historic rivalry. And how much will the Ole Miss rumors of Lane Kiffin taking off and going somewhere else? How much would that potentially affect this team and their motivation going into this game? I'll start at the very bottom of the board. The last person to introduce themselves, Joey. Give me your pick for this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ole Miss here. Obviously, I just think they're a much better team overall, both offensively and defensively. Outcoached for now, maybe not next year, as you know, Lane Kiffin will be making his decision. I saw a rumor. I don't know if it's true because it was on one of those sports talk sites that he had bought a $1.2 million property in Baton Rouge. A lot of the comments were saying that 1.2 million is light work for Lane. So I don't know. But yeah, I got to go with Ole Miss for now. Lane Kiffin's their coach. In my opinion, I think he'll probably stay, even though he's making more. He's getting more money for the program on top of making more money at a place like LSU or Florida. I think the culture he has at Ole Miss right now is definitely on the rise, and I wouldn't leave that behind if I'm him.
No, I agree with you fully. He has built this on himself. This is his program. If he leaves and goes to LSU, they have past history. You got to beat out Nick Saban as the guy that won them a championship a few years ago, and then you got to beat out Ed Orgeron, who got him a championship in 2019. So there's a lot of guys that are ahead of you on the pecking order. Where at Ole Miss, you're the guy. You are the main attraction. So I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to leave, but money does talk. Jake, I'm gonna let you pick next. Who you got here?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Joey here. I think I have Ole Miss. Throughout the years, their defense has been a little lacking, and that's why they haven't made a playoff appearance. But, this year it seemed to come together, and it's definitely better than it has been in previous years. So, and I just don't think that Mississippi State has the run game to stay with Ole Miss here. So that'll be my pick.
Yep, I fully agree with you. I think that is exactly how I feel about this game. I think that Ole Miss has just got the more talented side of the ball in general on offense and on defense. Lane Kiffin locked down and decided to start playing some defense over the last 2 years. Ole Miss has become a very legit title contender since he started doing that. He's had multiple guys go to the league. He's going to have a few more guys from this team go to the league. Jake, Joey, I'm going to be with you guys. I'm going to take Ole Miss. Parker, I'm going to leave you for last. Where are you going here?
Well, Mississippi State's a really tough place to play. One of the toughest in the SEC, I would say. Cowbells are really annoying.
Yes.
However, it's not going to be a problem for Ole Miss, and they get it done.
Yep, fully agree. And that should be a really fun one taking place in Stark Vegas, as they're calling it now. All the developments around that stadium since Starkville become a place to watch some college football. Should be a really fun place to go watch the game if somebody's attending. But again, overall, the Egg Bowl, probably going to go with Ole Miss here. Moving on to our next one here, Georgia taking on Georgia Tech in a big-time rivalry game. They went 7 or 8 overtimes last year, I do believe. A really, really fun one that could have went either way. Both of these teams have their leaders at quarterback, two guys that are absolute gamers. And when it comes down to the moment, they both make big-time plays. You look at Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. He has arguably been one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC this season, especially when it matters most. The fourth down play against Tennessee will stick out in your mind. You will remember that play to the end of the season, that if he has any Heisman chance at all, that kind of play made it for him. He's been really good at keeping the ball in his team's possession with only 4 interceptions, and he is a really hard level runner. He is a guy that will lower his shoulder and run you over at quarterback. And the dive that he had against Auburn, where he kind of looked like Cam Newton, I think it was almost on purpose, the way he dove into the end zone Superman. So watch out for Gunnar Stockton in the big moments of this game. He's going to try to come through for his team. On the other side for Georgia Tech, you have a quarterback that is a gamer. Like I said, both these guys are incredible quarterbacks. Haynes King brings you even more of a rushing upside. He is one of the best rushing quarterbacks in all of college football. He has been for the last 2 years. I think he averages nearly 20 carries per game. They have had him miss a couple games this year just because they didn't need him against some bad teams, just so he could be healthy to have 20 carries in a game. So expect Haynes King to be a large part of this rushing attack, but also the 2,500 passing yards, 12 touchdowns through the air, and had some really impressive statistics a few games ago. And even in their losses, Haynes King has certainly not been the problem. Expect him to have a great game here, and it should be a really fun quarterback matchup. But these two teams want to run the ball a lot, so Parker, give me the running backs here.
Georgia has a two running back situation here with Nate Frazier has 129 carries, 701 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 5.4 yards per carry. Other back for them is Chauncey Bowens with 94 carries, 493 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 5.2 yards per carry. And they average about 190.5 rushing yards a game. With Georgia Tech, Jamal Haynes is their running back one, I guess you could say, which Hank Keynes does get a lot of the carries there. Jamal Haynes has 109 carries on the year for 493 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 4.5 yards per carry.
Yeah, really impressive backfields on both sides. Georgia has always been a football team that wants to run the ball. If you ask anybody, you go back and watch those teams, when they've been really, really good, it's been the ability to run the ball at a high level and then have that quarterback that can make plays on his legs. That is the formula that they've built this season so far. Nate Frazier, really, really good back. I was expecting, honestly, him to take over and be the lead back this year. He's kind of done that more so lately. But Chauncey Bowens, when we had Dalton on talking about Bowens, he loved Chauncey Bowens because of the versatility as a big back that can get up and down the field like a Derrick Henry type of guy. He's just a really large running back that has that high level speed. Of course, on the other side, like you said with Georgia Tech, they have Jamal Haynes, the really fun Haynes and Haynes connection of the two, Haynes King, Jamal Haynes, both getting in the backfield making plays. But they also have UPenn transfer Malachi Hosley, another important name to look out for. Had a really, really good season at UPenn. Of course, that is a lower level of college football, but it doesn't matter. When you transfer over to this level, if you're that talented, you can be a playmaker, you can make a difference. So expect to see those names pop up for you. Looking down at the receiving battle, of course, Zachariah Branch. If you guys remember that name, I certainly assume most do. He's probably one of the fastest players that you'll watch on a college football field. This guy gets up and down the field at lightning speed. When we see that combine, he's going to probably run a 4.2. So it's one of those just speedsters that if you get him in open field, you let him make plays, it's way better than what Georgia's had in the slot receiver position for a few years. Of course, Ladd McConkey had an incredible year just a few years ago, but they just were unable to replace him with Carson Beck last year. And then they have Colby Young on the outside, the big 6'4" receiver that is the 50-50 ball guy. When you get down to the end zone, go up and get it. That's just the way he plays. I expect both those guys to be very important. On the other side for Georgia Tech, they had the big-time transfer coming in from FIU and Eric Rivers, who honestly hasn't lived up to the top-tier receiver that he was expected to be in the portal, but he's still having a really good year. This isn't a high-level passing offense. It's just not what they do. So 500 yards is still incredible. They also have Malik Rutherford, who ended up staying with Georgia Tech last year, and he's had a pretty good season as well. So expect both of those receivers to get involved in a big way, but also watch out for a Malachi Hosley and a Jamal Haynes. They catch passes out of the backfield. This should be a really fun one there with those matchups. Again, I'll ask you this time, Joey, what do you think about these offenses that you're looking at here?
I think both of those teams got big playmakers. Obviously, Georgia Tech's big one being Haynes King, man. But yeah, I mean, I think Georgia's offense is just so versatile as well. Like they can run on you, they can pass on you. You've got a great quarterback with Gunnar Stockton, great running back in Nate Frazier. Zachariah Branch, wish he had a few more receiving yards this year, but still definitely not a bad season by any means. Big time playmakers. Also Cash Jones as well, a big pass catcher for Georgia as well. So he can definitely make a play. I think he's under the radar type of guy.
Yeah, and he'll be in on all those third down plays. They bring him on the field all the time when they have a 3rd and 6 or longer because he's a good pass blocker, but he's also really good out of the backfield catching passes. To quickly give a shout out, these are probably two of the best linebackers in the country, and Chris Cole, who we let sneak out of Virginia. We were down to the last 3 on the board for him, but we have a guy now that can recruit those top-level guys, so let's hope we grab one of those here in the near future. And then C.J. Allen, who is going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. Really expecting a lot out of him in the near future. If he's going to end up in the league, he's going to be a starter probably wherever he goes. So these are the two names to watch out for in this big-time game, matching up with Georgia Tech, who's going to want to run the ball a ton, so the linebackers will be of the utmost importance. Of course, this game takes place in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in a neutral site. You see that spread sitting at 13.5. What are you thinking here, Parker? Do you think that Georgia Tech can pull this one off?
I think Georgia Tech bounces back pretty well after that horrendous loss last week. Pitt is not that good. Never should be in a game like that. But I do think Georgia walks into Mercedes-Benz and Wins a close one, probably like 31-28, something like that.
Yeah, and we got an absolute instant classic, like I said last year. So it is a really safe prediction to have a close football game yet again between these two teams. Joey, which direction are you going here?
Yeah, I'm gonna side with Parker on this one as well. I'm gonna go UGA. Don't be surprised if the Eagles trade into the first round for both those linebackers.
Yeah,
They're known to do that.
yeah.
But yeah, I thought UGA takes this one probably a little bit more than 3 points in Parker. I'd say probably about a 10-point game. I would say something along the lines of probably 38-28 or something along that.
Yeah, and obviously expect it to be a fun matchup. Welcome to the show, Little Q there, joining us. We'll have you on in a bit to let you make another pick that obviously you're more looking forward to. But I'll go to Jake right here for this one. Who do you have in the Georgia Tech game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty close. Georgia Tech, they really every game they play is close because the way that they play football.
Yep.
Ground and pound, that's how Georgia Tech has always been. A little bit here, a little bit there. But I think the linebackers that Georgia has, I just don't know if Georgia Tech's going to be able to keep inching away at them. I think they'll definitely get to some fourth and longs that forces them to air it out. Not saying that Haynes King can't, but they're just better in that run environment. So for that reason, I think I'm going to go with Georgia.
Yeah, and I was on the Georgia Tech bus pretty much all season. Man, this is it. This is the year that Georgia Tech finally makes that push that they beat Georgia, that they're good enough to get over the hump. They just haven't been able to do that. But I can't watch them play the way they played against Pittsburgh last week and pick Georgia to win or Georgia Tech to beat Georgia. So I'm going to have to go with Georgia. They've looked so good as of late. Like I said, they have Gunnar Stockton, who is an absolute gamer. Not that Haynes King isn't. And you could honestly argue that Haynes King might have more of a Heisman case because he does everything for his team. But I just think Georgia's a little bit too talented. Kirby Smart is too good of a football coach. And they want to stay inside that top four seeds if at all possible. Right now, they're sitting in a pretty good spot to do so. You win this one, you only add to your resume. Give me the Bulldogs to get it done here in Mercedes-Benz. Moving on to our next game here, Texas A&M taking on the Texas Longhorns in what should be a really fun matchup of the Texas schools. The Longhorns are looking to try to sneak their way into the playoff. It almost seems like that's not going to be possible at this point. But if you beat the number 3 team in the country, you can only go up in the rankings, and you're sitting at 16. So there is that crazy outside chance that if a bunch of things go your way, you sneak in. However, I think Texas A&M, the season that they've had so far, they're looking to finish undefeated. They're looking to go win an SEC championship game, and they're also looking to go play in a national championship. That's the level that Texas A&M is at right now. Don't know if Texas is there yet, but this quarterback matchup should be pretty fun. Diving into the quarterback matchup, Marcel Reed, a guy that was in the Heisman contention for a little while. He doesn't play some of the second halves because of how bad they're beating some teams they've played. Does hurt his resume a little bit, but again, should you really tax a guy if his team is so good that he's not playing? I don't know. 2,700 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, runs the ball really well, and has that escapability that you want to see out of a Heisman level quarterback. On the other side for Texas, you have Arch Manning that had arguably one of the worst starts of the season of any quarterback in college football. He didn't look like the kind of guy that he was supposed to be. There was already the rumor that he was coming back to college, so nobody really expected him to have to be this superstar because he wasn't going to go to the draft this year. Well, towards the back end of the year, Arch Manning started winning this team football games. He's also played well in their loss that they had. So Arch Manning, he steps up to the big occasions, hopefully late in the season for him. It'll be interesting to see if that Manning name can carry him into a Heisman talk next season. He also is going to be a big part of this rushing attack, which, Parker, I'm going to have you talk about now. What do you got with those stats?
Hey, we got Texas right here with Quintravion Wisner, 112 carries, 442 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3.9 yards per carry. Arch Manning he's the second leading rusher for Texas with 191 yards and 7 touchdowns. Pretty impressive as a quarterback. And Texas averages about 121.6 rushing yards a game. Low to be an SEC school with an SEC offensive line. Going to A&M now, we got Reuben Owens, 99 carries, 570 yards, 5 touchdowns, 5.8 yards per carry. And Levon Moss with 70 carries, 389 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 5.6 yards per carry.
Yeah, and I fully agree with you that statistic over there on the other side for Texas is a bit concerning. They have had basically no run game this season. When your lead rusher averages 3.9 yards per carry and you're putting a massive workload on your young quarterback that's had no SEC experience, that's not really a winning strategy. That's probably why you're looking at 3 losses for this Texas team that has arguably one of the best defenses in the entire country. So we'll see if they get any kind of run game going in this one. With A&M, they had Le'Veon Moss last year. Reuben Owens has stepped up and become the lead guy this year. Really, really impressive running back field. But you also have Marcel Reed, who can add on the ground and make plays with his legs. Now, he isn't really a design running quarterback like Arch Manning is, but there's still the opportunity for him to escape the pocket and make a play with his legs here and there. Diving down into this receiver talk, this is a fun receiver talk. Texas A&M has two absolute studs on the outside. Casey Concepcion, who, if you've watched my mock drafts, I've got him going in the first round in both of them so far. So this is a guy that I expect to fully be a first-round NFL draft pick next season. Plays the slot receiver, expect him to be there. They also have Mario Craver, who is a 19-year-old kid, and he's also 700-plus yards on the year. Now, he's had injury issues. They need him available if they want to go out and win a national championship. He is a key piece of that roster. On the other side for Texas, it's Ryan Wingo, and he is the one that has run away with it as being their superstar receiver. They obviously lost a lot of guys to the league last year. Matthew Golden goes to the league. Isaiah Bond goes to the league. And so you have to figure out, what are you going to do? Ryan Wingo said, let me step up and be the guy. So far, expect Arch Manning to target him a lot, and expect Marcel Reed to have two guys on the outside that can be big difference makers. Quickly, I'll mention these two rushes, pass rushers, and Cassius Howell and Colin Simmons. Starting with Cassius Howell, this is a first-round NFL draft pick. So they've got two of those in their top key players that we're talking about so far. Unbelievable season at Texas A&M. When you have 11 and a half sacks in the SEC, you're going up against the best offensive tackles in all of college football, and you're causing pressure every game you play in. He's averaging more than a sack a game, barely, of course, at 11 and a half. On the other side, Colin Simmons had an incredible season so far for the Texas Longhorns. A big part of why they've won the games they have won is that incredible defense that they have. Expect Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons to also have a chance to go high up in that NFL draft that will be coming up in April, of course. Again, Joey, is there anything that you see here that you'd like to point out looking at the statistics?
Yeah, Arch Manning this latter half of the year has performed way better than he did in that first half. Obviously, a lot of questions early on about, is this really the guy that we shaped him out to be preseason and the 2 years beforehand he had at Texas behind Quinn Ewers. Yeah, and like we mentioned, their running game has to play well. It has to play well. And you're putting too much of a workload, like you said, on a young guy like Arch. Not young in terms of, grade, young in terms of experience.
Yep.
Which, he's a runner in himself. So, if you can start that and it opens up the offense for a guy like Wingo, I think that would be big time for him.
Jake, if you see these defenders down here, specifically Cassius Howell, Colin Simmons, do you think those are first-round pick level guys?
Yeah, I absolutely believe, especially Cassius Howe. He's looked terrific this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of these guys are extremely good.
Yeah, and again, Anthony Hill even is another guy. So you just expect this Texas defense to have players all across the field that can make a difference. We will go up and make a pick here. And Jake, I'll let you follow up your conversation on the defense there and make a pick in this one in a very close 1.5 point spread.
This is a really tough game. I do believe in Arch. I do think that he's the quarterback that everybody says that he is. Especially at first, I thought, there's no way that this guy is a Manning,
Yeah.
but he's looked really well. But I just think that this Texas A&M team is possibly one of the most talented teams in
Yep.
college football this year, as far as individual players coming together. I think they go undefeated in the SEC. So give me Texas A&M.
Yeah, and I'm going to be sitting pretty close with you there on the A&M, but I will save my pick for a second and go down to Joey. Joey, where are you going to go with this one?
Yeah, like you said, man, earlier on this year, questionable, Manning last name. I'm a Giants fan, so big Eli Manning guy myself. Doesn't play too much like a Manning, though.
No.
I'm going to go with the upset here, man. Texas has looked really good the past couple weeks, especially against Arkansas with Arch. I could definitely see this game, being one that, I won't say it's breakout game, but the game that, puts the world on notice. Like, hey, man, maybe I am finally molding into that player that we all thought I could be. Marcel Reed's a great quarterback, but he still has some issues. I watch this guy on TikTok sometimes, and he reviews all of the big time FBS quarterbacks. And he says Marcel Reed's an ATH at QB, which, he's proven him wrong all year. 11 games, 11 wins. But I think I'm going to go with the Longhorns on this one, man.
Yeah, and the SEC home field advantage is a real thing. We've seen that happen time and time again, that these teams are able to pull it out at home just because of that home field advantage. Parker, where are you going to be leaning on this one, A&M or Texas?
If Marcel Reed plays anything like he did against South Carolina, they will lose. However, I don't think he has another performance like that. I'll take A&M.
Yeah, and I have a tough time picking this one as well because I think that Texas defense is very, very scary to face, especially late in the season when those guys are trying to build their draft stock. This is also a game that is, I mean, it is an absolutely a must win for Texas. You lose this one, you're clearly out of the playoff contention. You win it, anything can happen. I think that Sarkisian is arguably a better head coach than Mike Elko, but I think Texas A&M just looks like a national championship level team. They have two receivers that I don't know if Texas has the guys to cover. They have a run game that is just a little bit better at every step of the way when it comes to just getting the ball up and down the field. And they have a Heisman level quarterback. Not that Arch Manning can't be that in the future, but if you ask me today who I would take, I'd take Marcel Reed. So I think Texas A&M will get it done here in a very important one in Austin, Texas. Moving on to our next game here, Arizona taking on Arizona State in another big rivalry game between the two schools in Arizona. Of course, we'll look down at this quarterback competition. Noah Fafita was a guy that 2 years ago was getting a ton of hype to be a future NFL draft pick. And then last season, he didn't have the season he wanted to have, and he had arguably the best receiver in college football besides Jemiah Smith playing with him. So when you have issues and your receiver on the outside is a superstar, it's kind of like, well, how did you not play great? Those issues were he could only throw it to Tetairoa McMillan. If you went to anybody else, it didn't work out. This year, he doesn't have Tetairoa McMillan. He's had to find different weapons, and those different weapons have actually looked pretty good for them. You can see the 2,600 passing yards, the 25 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. Of course, part of his issue was also turning the ball over. He's also toned that back and not really done that this year. So, really impressive bounce back year for Fafita. On the other side, of course, you see their quarterback at the beginning of the year was Sam Levitt. He is now out for the rest of the year. His agents are trying to push him out of Arizona State. It'll be a very interesting thing to see what happens with him if that does happen. I think that Kenny Dillingham loves Sam Levitt. He would love to keep him around, and if he offers him a bag, he might be able to keep him there. That's an interesting topic. But let's talk about the quarterback that's actually going to be playing in this game, and Jeff Sims, the 6-year college football quarterback that has played pretty much anywhere. You name it, he's been there. Jeff Sims, of course, over the last few games has thrown for over 200 yards, thrown for more than 2 touchdowns, and brings you a really high-level rushing attack, which I will let Parker talk about in just a second. But, I mean, Jeff Sims, when he first come in, it kind of looked like, well, their season's over because he was awful in the first 2 games. Now he's kind of figured it out. He's got the offense rolling, and he's got the playbook. He's been in practice running quarterback 1 reps, and he looks like a 6-year college football veteran. Really interesting to see how that plays out in this game. But, Parker, give me the information on those running backs.
Yeah, Arizona, Ismail Mahdi, 108 carries, 732 yards, 4 touchdowns, 6.8 yards a carry. They run a 2 running back look with Kedrick Reese-Cano, 72 carries, 370 yards, 8 touchdowns, 5.1 carries. Arizona State, they got Raleek Brown, 173 carries, 1,078 yards, 4 touchdowns, 6.2 yards per carry. A lot of carries for a running back right there.
Yep.
And then Jeff Sims, who even in my notes right here, I said he has shown he can be a dog, runs the ball very well with 83 carries for 2 touchdowns.
Yes, sir. That is Jeff Sims. He is, like I said before, this is it, man. He has to go get a job after this. So he's locked in and he's playing college football to the last second. He can't play it no more. So look out for Jeff Sims to maybe pull off some crazy victory here, although Arizona State is the higher-ranked football team. Looking down at the receiving core for these two teams, Noah Fafita goes to a few guys. Chris Hudson there, you can see, is his lead receiver, 645 yards, 50 receptions, and 4 touchdowns. But he also has Trey Spivey, pretty good receiver as well. But again, they're going to lean on how can Fafita feed the ball to everybody. He's going to go to each and every player on this team, and Mahdi can also make some plays out of the backfield. On the other side, for Arizona State, the story is you don't have Jordan Tyson anymore. Who are you going to go to? It's not looked pretty. They have a list of guys that you can go down and look at, and each of them under 400 yards on the season. Shimon Matayer, Malik McClain, both around 300 yards on the year, but they're honestly probably going to go to the Raleek Brown out of the backfield more often than anybody else because of how good of a pass-catching running back he is. So it'll be very interesting to see where does Jeff Sims throw the football and how does he rush it in this game, because he's obviously going to want to do that. Again, should be a really, really fun offensive matchup. Parker, I'll go to you here. Is there anything else that stands out to you about these two teams' offenses?
Oh, I do believe it's going to be like an old Big 12 game right here. It's going to be pretty high scoring. I think the defenses are going to be pretty non-existent.
Yep, absolutely agree.
It's going to be a good game.
I absolutely agree with you. That is Big 12 football. It is the top tier quarterbacks, which are we going to call Jeff Sims that? I don't know, but it is those high powered offenses that just score a ton of points, and whoever finishes with the ball in their hands is going to win the football game. Going up to make a pick here, of course, taking place in Tempe, Arizona. Where are you going to go with this one, Joey?
Yeah, I'm going to get Jeff Sims to update his LinkedIn because I got the Arizona Wildcats coming out with a dub on this one. I think having no Jordan Tyson, who I know a pretty good bit about as a Giants fan, one of the players we're linked the most to with a projected top 3 pick in the draft right now. This will be a close game, though. Like Parker said, could definitely see this being high scoring. I think the over under set at 50.5 is a little low.
Yeah.
Maybe you go 60.5, maybe you like 31-28, something around that range. But yeah, I have Arizona Wildcats pulling off the win, even though I think Arizona State out coaches Arizona with Kenny Dillingham.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to go opposite of you here. I'm going to roll with Arizona State. Give me the old man Jeff Sims and what could be his last college football game. Now, he's going to get a bowl game, and he's probably going to play in it because it's probably the last time he'll play organized football. But Jeff Sims has a dog in him, like Parker said. He said he's got that dog in him. I fully expect him to go out and get a victory here. So give me Jeff Sims and the Arizona State Sun Devils. Where are you going to go with that pick, Parker?
Rewind 2 weeks ago, Jesus Gomez hit a game winner against my Mountaineers, and I think he does it again. Jesus Gomez knocks off the Wildcats right here, and Arizona State stays alive for a Big 12 championship.
Yes, sir. And Jake, last but not least, where are you heading with this one?
We're gonna split it dead even. I'm gonna go with the Wildcats here. Yeah, I think Fafita just has more weapons than Arizona State has. I mean, he can spread out the ball a lot more. Brown, he's good for Arizona State, but he's no Scatterbo. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. They had a tough time trying to replace that beast, that behemoth of a running
it's
back.
impossible.
You know what? We're not splitting this. I love me some Kenny. We're going Arizona State with the dub, last minute walk-off field goal. Rest in peace, Mountaineers, led by their future rec league flag football MVP quarterback.
That is exactly why we have Q on here to break the ties when we get in the 2-2s. So perfect moment to hop in there, Q. Moving on to this next one here, Ohio State taking on Michigan in arguably the best rivalry in college football. I think we have a fan on here that might argue the other way, but we'll talk about that when we get to that game. Ohio State, Michigan. The Michigan Wolverines have absolutely dominated this series over the last 4 to 5 seasons. And if you'd have told me that 10 years ago, I'd have called you a psychopath because Ohio State ruled this rivalry. There is a class of Michigan Wolverines that never watched their team lose a game in this series. That is pretty awesome if you're a fan of the school and if you are a student going there. Can Ohio State bounce back? They should. They are the better football team, but you never know in this rivalry game. Going down and looking at the quarterback matchup, Julian Sayin is a guy that is very much in that Heisman conversation. I think he'd probably be your number 2 or number 3 guy right now, just with Fernando Mendoza playing the way he is. But Sayin is still having an incredible year, 2,800 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. Now, it does make life easy when you got 2 top 15 receivers in the NFL draft, not just top 15 guys in all of college football. You probably arguably have 2 top 5 guys in college football right now playing with you. So when you got that level of receiver, you're going to have a great year. But it's still really impressive that he's doing this at such a young age. And then on the other side, you have Bryce Underwood, who transfers over technically. Now, again, he wasn't actually in the transfer portal, but a late flip to Michigan because the donors ponied up and gave him $10 million. And now he's their starting quarterback, and that solves that quarterback situation because last year they had nobody playing quarterback. Basically, they beat Ohio State without running or without throwing the football at all. They just ran the ball a million times and got the victory. But now they have Underwood and 2,100 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But he changes the game in a big way on the ground with his legs. He's one of the more athletic quarterbacks in the Big Ten Conference. Expect him to be a difference maker there. That's why you don't see as many passing touchdowns for him this season. This should be a really, really fun rushing attack as well from both sides. Parker, what do you have on that?
Right here. Funny enough, Ohio State's leading rusher, Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Hard to lose a game with Bo Jackson on your team. 129 carries, 835 yards, 5 touchdowns, 6.5 yards per carry. And because I do have to mention it, CJ Donaldson does have 75 carries for 286 yards with 10 touchdowns. He would have been better off staying in Morgantown
Yeah.
with the Jaheim White injury. And then for Michigan, you have Jordan Marshall with 143 carries, 871 yards, 10 touchdowns with 6.1 yards per carry, and Justice Haynes with 121 carries, 857 yards, 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So Michigan has a couple running backs that are studs.
Yeah, absolutely. That is Michigan football for you. They are going to ground and pound, run the football at a high level. Justice Haynes was having an unbelievable season prior to the injuries that he suffered. When available, they have arguably the best rushing attack in the entire Big Ten because they have two guys that can go for 100 yards in a football game, and then a quarterback that could probably run for close to 100 yards. So, really, really impressive rushing attack. And then, like you said with Ohio State, it's Bo Jackson. I mean, how can he not be one of the best running backs in college football? It only makes sense with the namesake that he has. And C.J. Donaldson, I know that you love the man. You wish he was back in Morgantown playing for West Virginia, but he might go out and get him a ring.
Touchdowns is crazy.
Yes, I mean he's been vital to this team, and in the red zone, I think that's what you expected him to be for them too. He is a big back that can make plays once he gets down into the red zone area. Diving into the receiver matchup here, I mean, there really isn't any words for how good this Ohio State receiver room is. They have Jeremiah Smith, who you could argue is probably the best receiver in all of college football, and he still isn't eligible to go to the draft. I think some teams would probably say, let us use the first overall pick to guarantee his draft rights. We don't even get a football player this year. We just want him because that's how good he is. So watch out for him. He could arguably win the receiver award, the Bednarik, or Bolitnikoff, I should say, and expect Jeremiah Smith to be a top level player in this game. Ohio State, for some reason, last year decided they weren't going to throw the ball to their best players. So we'll see if they try to change that this time around. And then, of course, behind him, you have another top end, high level receiver in Carnell Tate, who will likely end up going in the top of the draft this year. Again, I think there's some kind of mixed bag about where he could go, potentially even a top 10 pick if somebody really wants to spend that high level of pick on a receiver. And then behind that, they have Brandon Ennis. They have Max Clare, the tight end. It's just so much that Julian Saint has to play with. He has every receiver that you can think of. I mean, most guys would pray to have receiver rooms like this. So expect them to have a really, really good passing attack. On the other side for Michigan, they also have some really top end receivers, which you couldn't say last season. They have Andrew Marsh, who is their leading receiver, 641 yards, 42 catches, 3 touchdowns. But they also have Donovan McCulley, who was their lead receiver for a lot of the season. Slowed down just a little bit on the back half, but teams have kind of just dialed in and tried to stop him because of how good the rest of this team is. It's really, really hard to stop that high-level rushing attack and the top-tier receiver on the outside. Makes Michigan a very scary football team that is kind of just sitting there knocking on the door trying to get into this playoff that if they win a game like this, I think they're probably going to find themselves in that playoff. To go down and talk about the defense, there's two names I have to mention for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and it's going to be Sonny Styles, the superstar linebacker that has been here, and he's been the guy for them for a few years. And coming into the season, I would have thought he would be the best linebacker on this football team. He isn't the best linebacker on this football team. Arvell Reese is. Arvell Reese is arguably the number one player in the entire class. He could go at the number one pick to the Titans. Me as a Titans fan know that we desperately need a guy that can change the game as much as he does. And then they obviously have Caleb Downs in the secondary, who is probably the best safety prospect we've definitely seen since Kyle Hamilton, and he might be better than him. So, I mean, you could argue that the Ohio State Buckeyes have 5 of the top 10 players in college football on one roster. You tell me how you beat that team. Michigan might have the secret to do it. We'll move up and make a pick here. And in the really tough game that this is, Jake, I'm going to throw you under the bus and let you start out with who you taking, Michigan or Ohio State?
Yeah, this is tough because rivalries, I mean, it's so hard to predict rivalries. I mean, Michigan has won how many? 4 or 5 in a row?
Yeah.
Like you said, some of the players from Michigan have never lost to Ohio State, which is crazy to think because
Yeah.
Ohio State's been such a dominant football team. But, unlike another game we're going to talk about, I do think that this streak is going to end. So, give me Ohio State. I mean, they have the most talent out of all of college football on their team. So, it might happen. I don't know. Michigan obviously might have the secret, but playing the safe play here and going with Ohio State.
Yeah, and it's just really hard to go against Ohio State with the level of talent that they have on this football team. But this rivalry has proven time and time again anything can happen. Parker, which way are you going to go in this game?
Well, Michigan does rush for where is it? 223.5 yards a game. That's absurd.
Yeah.
And I might have a little bias here. I have a cousin. I'm going to see him tomorrow for Thanksgiving and everything. Big Michigan fan. I watched him the first year they beat Ohio State. And Ryan Day doesn't get over the hump, and Michigan does it.
He is riding with the Michigan Wolverines. Joey, I'll throw it to you now. Who are you going to take here, the Buckeyes or the Wolverines?
I think this Michigan team has a way better chance to win this year than they did last year. And they still pulled it off last year. They have probably more talent on the roster, offensively at least, this year than they did.
Yeah.
I know how good Justice Haynes is as an Alabama fan. Really wish we had him this year with our lack of a run game. But Michigan doesn't have Connor Stallings. So I think that could, play an effect on them. So I'm going to go with the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think they're they're an offensive powerhouse, a defensive powerhouse, best team in the nation, in my opinion. They're just so well-rounded, good players at every single position. I don't really think they have a single weakness.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, you're going into Ann Arbor too. On top of everything, if they wanted to end the streak, this is not the year to try to do it when you're going into their place, the big house. It is one of the most difficult places to go in and win a college football game. But I'm going to go with Ohio State on the road to go get a huge victory because their team is just too talented. Heck, throw Ryan Day to the Wolves. Let him do his thing on the sideline and just let Julian Sayin throw the ball 400 times to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and watch this team move the ball up and down the field. Now, do I trust that Michigan is one of the best defensive units in the country and they are always coached defensively? 100%. I think they're good enough to run the ball all day long. But when you have two superstar first-round pick linebackers, two superstar first-round pick wide receivers, and arguably the best safety in college football that we've seen in 10 years, how do you not win? I just have to go with Ohio State with that much talent. So give me the Buckeyes to get it done in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Moving on to our next one here, Oregon taking on the Washington Huskies in Husky Stadium. It has been a very difficult place to go and play in recent history, and Washington can pull off any upset. They've proven it time and time again this year that they're able to hang around in those games. And we go down and talk about these quarterbacks. That Washington quarterback can definitely win you a big-time football game. I will start with Dante Moore of the Oregon Ducks, a guy that it seems like is going to come back to college. Rumors speculating the fact that he doesn't think he's going to be a top 3 NFL draft pick, and he thinks if he comes back to college, he can be that next year. So expect Dante Moore to potentially come back next year, but don't look ahead. Look to right now. You're playing a really good Washington team. The 2,400 yards, the 23 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions is a really, really good year from Dante Moore. And he's also kind of had to figure out who is he going to go to with the injury to his star receiver to start the season. His best guy didn't play a snap of football. So it's really impressive what he's done with a mixed bag of different guys that he had to go to. Looking over at Washington, of course, the Huskies lead quarterback, Damon Williams Jr., a guy that is a top-end college football quarterback, throwing for 2,700 yards, 19 touchdowns, only the 6 interceptions. Expect this to be a really fun competition between the two QBs. I might lean towards Damon Williams here, actually, and a guy that I really, really enjoy watching play college football. But, Parker, let's talk about these running backs here.
Right here for Oregon, we got Noah Whittington, 95 carries, 727 yards with 6 touchdowns. Oregon averages an insane amount of 228.6 rushing yards a game, which is a lot of rushing yards right there. Washington has Jonah Coleman, 135 carries, 651 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 4.8 yards per carry. Both teams give a lot of carries to their running backs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. They want to establish the ground game, and Oregon has actually done a really good job at, like I said, having to try to replace that star talent that they lost as the season started, and that run game has been a big part of that. Diving into the rest of those rushing stats, you talked about that high-level rushing attack. They also have Jordan Davison and De'Aaron Hill Jr. behind him, both over 400 yards on the year. So to get to 228 yards a game, it's not just Whittington doing it, it's 2 other guys. Really, really impressive rushing attack from Oregon. Expect that to be the kind of thing that get things going for them. And then you watch Dante Moore kind of pick him apart going to his star tight end, who I'll talk about in a second. On the other side with Washington, Jonah Coleman was having an awesome season, and then he kind of hit a brick wall. And he stopped, having these awesome games going up and down the field. They played Ohio State, and that performance was just kind of lackluster. And since then, he hasn't done much. So expect Jonah Coleman to want to get his get back in this game. 14 touchdowns on the year is really, really good. There was a point where I thought he was going to go for over 1,000 yards and 20 touchdowns, and we were going to be talking about him in Heisman contention because how good Washington was. He fell off after that point of the season. Going down to look at this tight end that I'm talking about, and Kenyon Sadiq, a first-round pick tight end. This is the next one in a long line of really good tight ends we've had over the past few years of college football. Expect Sadiq to be the reason that I think he can be a first round pick is because he is a willing blocker, one of the best blocking tight ends in college football, but he also can go out and make plays for you in the receiving game. Of course, he has 8 touchdowns on the year, so he will be the target in the red zone of Dante Moore. On the other side, Denzel Boston is one of the best receivers in this draft class coming up. Damon Williams has been able to connect with him for 8 touchdowns, 730 yards, 52 receptions. That's going to be the guy to watch out for this team. They do have superstars at those positions. Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, Denzel Boston should all be future NFL guys. So could be a really, really fun offense to watch in this game. We'll move down to the Oregon Ducks defense, a name that I have to mention in Mateo Uiagalelei. If you remember, DJU, who played last year for Florida State, the Uiagalelei name got disgraced by how bad he was for the 2-10 Florida State Seminoles. Mateo is a far better football player. He is one of the best edge rushers in the country because he's able to drop back and play outside linebacker in coverage sets. He's good at making interceptions. He's good at creating disruptive types of plays. But he's also just going to get in the backfield and make plays there as well. Expect him to be a future first or second round NFL draft pick. So that'd be the guy I'm watching out for on that Oregon Ducks defense. They also have Dylan Thieneman at safety who transferred in. Could be another name to watch out for. He had the big interception against Penn State that basically derailed their season. Going up to make a pick in this one, Husky Stadium, like I said before, is a very difficult place to go in and play. And you see the spread is within 7, within a touchdown. Joey, where are you going to be leaning here, Washington or Oregon?
Yeah, like you said, Husky Stadium, like crazy hard place to play in. I saw something on the internet a few years ago, but Abraham Lincoln's great quote is, never trust everything you see on the internet. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go to the Oregon Ducks here. I mean, I think they're just a better overall team. I do think Damon Williams has performed really well this year, and Dante Moore, although he's a great prospect, I think he should have cleared this year personally, but that's just me. And they're both the teams running games are insane. But yeah, Sadiq, perfect Travis Kelce replacement in my opinion. If you're Kansas City, that'd be the guy who I'd probably have at the top of my list, even though Kelce's still playing pretty well. Yeah, I'm going to the Ducks on this one.
Yeah, and I'm actually with you there on the Kenyon Sadiq. We've had that in our mock drafts. I think both times we made the picks. So he does make a ton of sense to go to a tight end needy team potentially if Travis Kelce does hang up the cleats. But Kenyon Sadiq would be a great addition to any NFL team. And when you have that level of talent that is going to block for you in the run game and then make plays in the receiving game, it leads me to also take Oregon here. Although they're going into this really tough environment in Husky Stadium, I just think that they're a good enough football team to get past this big game here, and then you're guaranteed in the playoffs. You don't even play in a Big Ten championship game. That's going to be Ohio State and Indiana, as long as Ohio State does their job and gets it done against Michigan. That could get interesting. We'll see what happens there, but I think Oregon will do their job and get it done against Washington and Husky Stadium. Parker, where are you going with this one?
You said that Washington is a tough place to play. However, we do know that Oregon went into Penn State in a whiteout with an absolute rocking crowd and took care of business.
Yep.
I think Oregon's going to take care of business again, move on to 11-1.
I fully agree with you. I also think another key part to remember here is Dan Lanning is one of the best coaches in college football. He's going to have his team prepared for this level of game. Jake, last but not least, where are you going here?
Yeah, I'm a big Dan Lanning fan. I think that Oregon's better coach, and I think they're a better team. So I know it's going to be a tough environment, but if they did get past that whiteout, like Parker said, that I don't think they have a problem with the Huskies.
Moving on to our next one here, Vanderbilt taking on Tennessee in what should actually be a really fun matchup between the two schools. Tennessee has ruled this matchup for quite some time, but Vanderbilt is probably back at the top of their game. This is arguably the best they've been since when they had James Franklin coaching them back in 2013-14. So should be a really fun matchup here. Diving into the quarterback duel, Diego Pavia is having a Heisman-level season, just threw for 500 yards, breaking the Vanderbilt passing record last week. So he's coming into this game as hot as you can possibly be, has thrown for nearly 3,000 yards on the year, 26 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. The thing that has drastically improved his game is his passing ability. It was nowhere near this good last year. Him stepping up and doing that has made him a true Heisman contender. On the other side for Tennessee, you have Joey Aguilar, who has had his issues with turning the ball over. If that problem hadn't come up this year, he might have been in the Heisman conversation. But the 3,100 yards, the 23 touchdowns are still really nice, even with the 10 interceptions. Parker, can you go ahead and cover those running backs for us?
Right here, Vandy's got Cedric Alexander with 92 carries, 445 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 4.8 yards per carry. Diego Pavia leads Vanderbilt in rushing. Tennessee has Deshaun Bishop with 143 carries, 886 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 6.2 yards per carry. They run a three running back look
Yeah.
with Star Thomas getting 94 carries, 529 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 5.6 yards per carry. And Peyton Lewis from Salem. He gets 70 carries, 290 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 4.1 yards per carry.
Yeah, and like you said, that three-headed horse or three-headed dragon, whatever you want to call it, that they have down there with Tennessee has been very effective this year. They went and attacked it in the portal with Star Thomas. They got that receiving option in the backfield. Had a really good year at Duke last year. Then they have Deshaun Bishop, the returner, who, when they had some issues because of some injuries late in the season, he was able to step up and make some big plays. And then Peyton Lewis, a guy that is more of that power back. Get down to the goal line, let him try to find the end zone. Like you said with Vanderbilt, the story is definitely Diego Pavia. It's what is he going to do on the ground? How much of the running game will he be? How much of it will he have to be if they want to go in and beat Tennessee, who is known for having some pretty stout defenses over the last few years? Looking down at the receiving attack here, and the best tight end in college football, besides Kenyon Sadiq, and arguably is as good as Kenyon Sadiq, is Eli Stowers, the tight end from Vanderbilt, who we all expected to be the number one tight end in college football this year. He's really, really been great as of late. 705 yards, 57 catches, 4 touchdowns. Absolute mismatch nightmare for linebackers. If you have a linebacker guarding him, he will get open. So if you're Tennessee, you want to have those safeties and those slot corners trying to get out there with him and run with him. But then you get that advantage when it comes to the size mismatch. So should be really fun to see how Pavia and Vanderbilt use their tight end. On the other side with Tennessee, they have Chris Brazzell, a guy that is a surefire NFL draft pick, probably going to be a second round guy, but with his size and speed combo on the outside, he could sneak his way into the first round if all those top tier receivers go early in that draft. Expect him to be the 926 yards, 8 touchdowns, and the lead target for Joey Aguilar on the outside. Looking down at the defense, the interesting part about Vanderbilt is they still have a pretty good pass rush, but their top pass rusher, Miles Capers, has done basically nothing for the last 4 to 5 weeks of the season, and they're still getting after the quarterback. So watch out for the team pass rush that Vanderbilt has, and of course, on the Tennessee side, they have Joshua Josephs, who's forced a ton of fumbles this year, gets after the quarterback at a high level. Expect him to be kind of the difference maker, as well as Colton Hood, who could potentially be a first round NFL draft pick in that secondary. Going up to make a pick here. Tennessee, again, going to be the 3.5 point favorites. This is going to be a really tough game in Neyland Stadium. I think that is a massive advantage, though. Joey, I know you are not the biggest Tennessee fan, so I'll let you lead us here. Where are you going with this one?
Man, I'm not a Vanderbilt fan either, though, due to last year. Yeah, shout out Dalton Phillips. Going Tennessee here. Had a salute for my boy real quick.
Yeah.
Go Vols. It's the only time you'll hear me say that. I'm just gonna go take that with the home atmosphere they got at Neyland. Joey Aguilar, SEC passing leader still, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And great running game, like you said, three-headed goat. Great song, by the way, with Star Thomas, Peyton Lewis, and Deshaun Bishop. I'm heavy on Star Thomas. I don't know why. I love that dude on College Football 25,
Yeah.
26. I really enjoy that three-headed tandem, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna go the Vols here.
Yeah, and they have a coach that has figured out how to win games in the SEC. They have figured out the defensive side of the ball, and this year they've even done it without two of their best corners who have missed the majority of the season, actually most of the season because of injuries. They had to go out and figure that out, and they did so, and still have had a great year. It's obviously not what they wanted. They wanted to be a playoff team yet again, but you'll still take 8-3 after the seasons they were having just 4 or 5 years ago. Jake, I know you're also not the biggest Tennessee fan, same as myself, but I will let you pick here, Vanderbilt or Tennessee.
Yeah, this is tough. When I look at it, I look at the teams. They're pretty even, but I think the Vanderbilt has a little bit more to play for. I mean, some crazy things can happen. Ole Miss drops one, Georgia drops one. I mean, Texas falls down to a three-loss team, or they are a three-loss team, but a three-loss team in the conference. Anything can happen. I mean, have a glimpse of playoff hopes
Yeah.
if they, show that they can beat Tennessee right here. So I'm going to say that they come out on top here just because they have a lot more to play for.
Yeah, and I'm kind of sitting around the same place with you on that. Is Vanderbilt just has more to play for. Tennessee wins this football game. Yeah, they win the rivalry and they get to keep the banner of we're the better team in the state, but they don't have a chance to make the playoffs. So it will mean more to Vanderbilt. And Parker, I'm going to ask you now, where does that lead you to picking in this one?
Well, Coach Heupel's a really solid coach. I'll give him that. He's turned Tennessee around. However, I love Clark Lee, and Diego Pavia feeds off energy of the opposing stadium, as in Lane Stadium, Neyland.
Yeah.
And that's why last year he dropped to Georgia State at home because there wasn't a college football environment. Diego Pavia feeds off of it. He'll have it. Vanderbilt wins.
And believe it or not, I'm going to be with you, Parker. I absolutely agree. He loves being the underdog. He wants to be the guy on the field that everybody hates. It fuels him. He just plays better football when that's the situation that he's in. So I'm going to fully agree with you. I think Diego Pavia is going to have that Heisman level game that puts him in New York. Is he going to win the Heisman? No, I don't think so. But this will get him on the 4 guys that get to go and be a finalist. And it also gives Vanderbilt a really good chance to sneak into the playoffs because you get another win against an SEC opponent that is ranked inside the top 20 of the college football playoff rankings. Those are very, very valuable wins, especially because ESPN happens to be the one distributing the product. So it'd be very, very important that they get this done. I think Vanderbilt goes into Neyland Stadium and gets a huge win over the Tennessee Volunteers.
And who knows? Pavia could come back for another couple of years. Maybe a new rule will get implemented.
Yeah, if he gets the JUCO ruling for his 6th and 7th year, no pun intended. Moving on to our next one here, we do have somebody tied into this game, so we will let him talk about West Virginia. But first, I will start off with the Texas Tech Raiders, who prove to you that if you invest some money, you can turn your team into quite the football program. They have immediately become a top-tier team that I think this year, if they had Baron Morton healthy, they would be 11-0 and arguably in the conversation for the number 1 overall team in the country. That's how good Texas Tech has been. They have a quarterback, again, in Baron Morton, who's thrown for 2,100 yards, 17 touchdowns, only the 4 interceptions. Again, he hasn't been able to play every game this year. They go to Will Hammond if Baron Morton is down. He's not a bad backup, but he certainly isn't good enough to win you those high-level matchups. They're going to have Baron Morton if they want to have any chance down the stretch in the playoffs, which, hey, if they lose this one, they might not be there. We'll have to talk about that in a minute. Going on to our rushing attack here, Cameron Dickey is the superstar rushing, the guy in this backfield, 944 yards on 168 carries. He gets the ball a ton, 13 touchdowns. Again, when they get down towards the red zone, it is the Cam Dickey show. Let him roll. They also have Jacoby Williams, who has 112 carries and 647 yards on the season. So a very, very high-level rushing attack. And even when Baron Morton was down, they were able to win some of those games because of this high-level rushing ability that they have. You go down and you look at the lead receiver. That for you is going to be Caleb Douglas, 696 yards, 48 receptions for 5 touchdowns. But they also have Coy Eakin, who led them in receiving yards for the majority of the season. And then recently, Caleb Douglas kind of overtook him as the lead guy. So it's going to be interesting. What will West Virginia do when it comes to the corners? Will they play their guy on Caleb Douglas because he is the current leading receiver? Or will they continue to do what other teams have done and try to shut down Coy Eakin, which has led Caleb Douglas to have this incredible back half of the season that he's had so far? Now, this is the unfortunate part if you happen to be a West Virginia fan. You are staring into the face of arguably the 2 best players in the nation that aren't playing for Ohio State on the defensive side of the ball. David Bailey, who has 12 and a half sacks on the season and will be absolutely getting in the backfield in this game. West Virginia has had their own struggles on the offensive line, but play away from him. Have some design rollouts. Have things that favor you to where you're not playing into this superstar edge rusher that is David Bailey. Next, they have a guy that is probably going to end up going to New York and being a Heisman finalist playing linebacker in Jacob Rodriguez. This is a guy that has forced 11 turnovers on the season. Count them, 11. He is one of the best players in the entire country. He gets his team the ball more than some quarterbacks move the ball up and down the field for their team. So very, very impressive for what he does. He also lined up as a quarterback and scored a rushing touchdown a few weeks ago because his coach said, what else does he need to do to be a Heisman? Score a touchdown? And they were like, well, that would be nice. So he did it. That shows you how good Jacob Rodriguez is. He nearly has 100 tackles as well. This is very, very scary if you're West Virginia. These 2 guys are going to be wrecking havoc. Parker, what will West Virginia do to answer the call of the superstars on Texas Tech's team?
Well, you got to give it to Scotty Fox first. 5th-string quarterback come to the year. Nico goes down. Henderson also goes down. unfortunate events for the quarterback room. Scotty Fox comes in from Mentor, Ohio, steps up, does his job, and he's going to be the quarterback of the future. Then you look at week 2. We go into Athens, Ohio, and lose the Bobcats. Along with that, we lost our wide receiver 2 and Jaheim White, which has led Dior Hubbard to have to step up with 335 yards this year, 96 carries, and 4 touchdowns. Cam Vaughn, huge impact from the transfer portal from Jacksonville State right there, has came in, played a solid wide receiver 1 role, has done his job. Offensive line, like you said, is not very good. Landon Livingston does his job at the center. Tykees Crawford does his job at right tackle. But besides that, we do have Kevin Brown incoming. So,
Yeah.
And Aiden Woods from Abingdon. You got to give the hometown boy a shout out. However, on the defensive side of the ball, we do have Reed Carrico and Fred Perry. Fred Perry's going to be solid. He's going to help us out. Sucks he's a senior. Same with Carrico. Carrico's an Ohio State transfer right there. Another running back that stepped up for the Mountaineers is Curtis Jones Jr., two-way player, came in, played against Colorado, scored 2 gritty touchdowns. We're going to need to have a big day from our running backs to be able to win this game.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. I mean, you have to rely on those guys to at least free up Fox to make some plays here and there. If you just let David Bailey get after your quarterback all day, it isn't going to be pretty. He just has done that all year. He's been able to wreak havoc. But like you said, in these types of games, late in the season, you get it in Morgantown, anything can happen. And so I'm fueling that fire that you've got right now, Parker, thinking that the Mountaineers can pull off this crazy upset against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I'll let you pick last, and we'll dive into these picks. First of all, I'm going to go over to Joey. He doesn't have anything in this game, so Joey, where are you going with this one?
You know, it's going to be 37. So, you know, these Texas boys going to be chilly out here. Don't matter. Red Raiders by 50. I'm going Texas Tech.
I'm sorry for that pick. I know that upsets you a little bit, Parker. Next, I'll go over to you, Jake. You may or may not have a resident fan that either used to be or has some partial fandom there with the Nears. Where are you guys going?
You know, I do think West Virginia is going to get better. You know, James Franklin's not going to be as close to them anymore, so they might get a little bit more recruits, but, you know, he stayed close enough to still pull them away. But I really don't think that West Virginia can put up much of a fight here. So, yes, I'm obviously going with the Red Raiders. I'll pass it on to Mr. Quesenberry here.
First off, there is no used to be. Once you bleed blue and gold, you always bleed blue and gold. Ain't that right, Parker?
Absolutely, baby. Let's go.
That being said, it's been a rough year for the boys. First time we've lost to Ohio since 1958. You want to talk about a crazy stat line? That is a crazy streak to lose. It's been a rough year. We've had to dig deep into the depth chart, but we got Scotty. We got Mr. Fox. That being said, as much as I love him, as much as I love my ears, I will not have my TV turned on at noon.
Yeah. Yes,
Red Raiders.
I feel bad for you. It is going to be rough. That minus 4,000 money line is just staring me in the face right now, and it's making it really hard for me to pick the Mountaineers. Parker, I'm glad you're on here. You've been a phenomenal special guest, but I'm sorry. I just can't pick West Virginia to win this football game. Texas Tech, to me, is a team that can compete for and win a national championship. They have a Heisman contender on the defensive side of the ball. I'm sorry, but I just don't think they're going to get it done. But I will say, good teams win, great teams cover. Give me the Nears to cover plus 23.5. Parker, where are you going with this one?
Right here. We got to dig deep. Hard edge right here, as Rich Rod always loved to say. I heard a quote, come out, saw it. They were talking about it at practice. If they win this game, they'll be forever remembered as the team that knocked off Texas Tech right there. It's either going to go 2 ways. We're either going to walk into Morgantown and Texas Tech's going to hang 60 on us, and Scotty Fox is going to have 4 interceptions and 1 touchdown, or Scotty Fox is going to lead us to the promised land, and West Virginia wins a tough, hard-fought, hard-edge game, baby. Give me the Mountaineers.
What a pick from Parker on his first podcast with the Sideline Shenanigans. Parker, I'm pulling for you. Moving on to our next one here, Alabama taking on Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Of course, this is the game I was referencing when I said, what is the greatest rivalry in college football? Is it Michigan-Ohio State? Alabama fans would probably tell you it's Alabama-Auburn. There's been some historic moments in this rivalry. And if you look up where does Nick Saban have a losing record, you can't find anywhere but Jordan-Hare Stadium, a place that was a house of horrors for Nick Saban. I think he said it on game day earlier in the year. He said, if you can make me lose more than I win in your stadium, then you got a pretty good home field advantage. So I feel like Jordan-Hare is going to be a rough place to go into for Alabama, who's coming off of two questionable weeks from their star quarterback, which Joey, I'll let you talk about in just a second. Going over to the Auburn side of things, Ashton Daniels has been announced as the starter for the Auburn Tigers, but do not be thinking it's crazy if you hear the freshman Deuce Knight step onto the field and take over in this game. He just played really good football in his first start, although it was against the SEC bye week that they play every year. I don't think that he might be ready for this situation, and that might be why Ashton Daniels is an experienced quarterback in college football. But to me, there's just so much talent with Deuce Knight that if something goes wrong, Daniels has a rough first drive or two, you might find him on the field. Parker, I'll let you quickly cover this Auburn running back room. What do you have there?
Jeremiah Cobb with 165 carries, 936 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5.7 yards per carry.
Yep, that's all you need to hear. They have an absolute stud at the running back position, and across the board, Alabama's better everywhere but running back. That is a position that Alabama has really struggled to find production in the running room this year. That's not been a problem at all for Auburn. Jeremiah Cobb has had a really, really good year, and every one of those quarterbacks, Arnold, who is listed there, of course, Ashton Daniels, and Deuce Knight, can all bring you high-level rushing upside, which Ty Simpson might not do for you. That is the only advantage that Auburn has in this game. I don't know how much of a chance it really gives them, but we will dive into this receiving core, which is also really good for Auburn. It is a room that has Cam Coleman, who is one of the best young receivers in college football. There might be a world where he enters the transfer portal at the end of this season because of his, really high talent and the lack of a quarterback to throw him the ball. But maybe you watch Deuce Knight throw it a couple times in your last game and you might have some hope. So Cam Coleman, obviously nearly 700 yards, 52 catches, 5 touchdowns. Behind him, you have the transfer from Georgia Tech and Eric Singleton Jr., who is also a very, very high-level receiver. So they have two guys that you can really rely on in the receiver room. Whoever that quarterback is going to have to find those guys early and often, get the ball to them, and let them make plays because, again, you just don't have much of advantage when you're playing a team as good as Alabama. Joey, I'll hand it over to you. Let it rip on the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, like you said, man, Ty, it's not even just been a couple weeks. It's been since that South Carolina game. Ever since then, man, turnover issues. And not even with the interceptions, it's the fumbles. If I'm not mistaken, every single game since that South Carolina game, he's had a forced fumble in the pocket. And, I'll give it to him. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Not all of them are his fault. Some of the time, man, although Hayden Proctor's great, there's like once a game where he gets killed on the line.
Yeah.
And then Ty Simpson for failure. But a lot of these times, he just got to get the ball out. He's also had accuracy issues since the game. Throws that he would be hitting like 100% accuracy on earlier this season, just not hitting the same right now. I don't even know what it is. I mean, last week, he threw 2 interceptions against the SEC bye week. I mean, Keelan Russell and Austin Mack look better than him.
Yeah.
Going on to our running game, I mentioned earlier how just horrid our run game is this year. Jam Miller, we've plugged in 3 or 4 different guys trying to figure out what to do. Jam Miller has been our star running back going into the season. I thought he'd have a big game. Not looked like much of a star this year. We try to have Kevin Riley play a little bit, which he's hurt this game. And then we have A.K. Deere as a freshman. I really like him, but he's just not ready for a game like this just yet. And then Daniel Hill has been a guy who had played well a couple weeks ago versus Oklahoma, although it was a loss. Looked a little bit better. We actually eclipsed 100 rushing yards that game, if I'm not mistaken, which was a big accomplishment for us as compared to a team like Washington or Michigan or Oregon as well. Receiving wise, we do have a better receiving core. Ryan Williams was probably our star guy going into the year, but I think me and a bunch of other Alabama fans could have told you that Jeremy Menard's really our guy. He's more consistent of a guy. He'll give you 70 to 80 a game, whereas Ryan Williams will have 3 drops for you, or he could have 9 catches for 170 yards. I mean, that's just the type of production you get from him. But another under the radar guy that we have 2 actually. Isaiah Horton, 6'4" receiver, big red zone target guy. I believe he has 6 touchdowns on the season. I think all of them we just hit him across the middle, and we just throw it high, and nobody can reach the levels. He has big vertical on that guy as well. And then our freshman, Lonnie Brooks, Lotsier Brooks, he looks really good this year. Really happy to have him. Other guys that could play, Rico Scott, Jalen Hale, which he posted something cryptic on Twitter a couple weeks ago, or X, that he might be transferring. He just said he was frustrated with the lack of playing time that he's had, and it's fair. It's really fair to be honest with you. But she didn't do much last week. I don't think he did anything last week. Now, leading us on defense, Deonze Pierre with 6 sacks on the season. He's taken, I think he's a redshirt sophomore. He's taken the reign over Marion Latham. Jaw's been hurt this year. He's out again for this week. But good linebacking core, good front seven as well. And defensively, our DBs are pretty solid as well. On the younger side of that, with Albion Brown, Drake Kirkpatrick Jr., Dijon Lee, Domani Jackson, which he's taken a step back for us throughout the midseason. But our defense has kept us in games. I mean, Exhibit A, the South Carolina game, we needed a stop, and we got one. We got it. We forced a fumble in the Norris Sellers on that game, and we scored a touchdown on that. So the big thing here is, can we establish a run game at all? Can we get over 100 yards? I think that's the key to winning this game for Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that they have to do. They have had such struggle to get the ball going on the ground, and it makes no sense. If you've watched Alabama football forever, they have run the ball at a very, very high level. They produce NFL running back after NFL running back after NFL running back. Some of those guys are literally in the conversation to be the GOAT at the position. He is my favorite player in the history of the NFL, and Derrick Henry, a guy that just passed. The names were incredible that he's passing on the list. He's closing in on the all-time leading rusher. That's the kind of guy that if they had on this team, they'd be one of the best teams in the entire country. They don't have that. They don't have a star running back. And it really is, it's a very odd thing to watch Alabama not be able to run the football. You go down, another name that you didn't mention, but I think will be important in this game is LT Overton. It's a guy that he is hot and cold. I mean, I've talked about it many times on the podcast. He has a game where he looks like a NFL first-round draft pick. And then he has a game where it looks like he doesn't even want to be on the field. So it just concerns me because what is it that drives him in those games? Is it the slow start and he just kind of shuts down? Or is it something else behind the scenes? Is he just not happy with the situation he's in? I have no idea, but if LT Overton gets going, he can absolutely wreak havoc in this football game because of his ability to stop the run game, but also his ability to get to the quarterback, which he can do. You just haven't seen it in some of the games this season. Should be an important player to watch. Of course, I will let Joey make the final decision when we go in to make our picks. I'm going to start it out here with Parker. Parker, Alabama, Auburn in the Iron Bowl with a 6.5-point spread. Very interesting from Vegas.
Something that was not mentioned in the coverage right here is this is the first night game since 2014 in the Iron Bowl. And the last night game that got played at Jordan-Hare was in 2007. Auburn knocked off Alabama 17-14 right there. Jordan-Hare's a tough place to play, and everything in my body really wants to pick Auburn. However, my girlfriend's family would kill me if I went with Auburn. So roll Tide, give me Alabama.
Yeah, and that is the logical pick for sure. But that is a house of horrors. Jake, where are you going to have it going here, Alabama, Auburn?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's too much of a tough choice. As much as I would love to see another kick six this year or something like that, something crazy. I mean, there's been so many, game time ending plays
Yeah.
in this rivalry, but I just think that Alabama has the clear advantage here, even though they're on the road playing in their toughest stadium as a team. But yeah, I think they come out with the W here.
Yeah, and I'll go over to you as well, Q. You're here. You might as well make a pick. You got Alabama or Auburn?
To quote a TikTok I saw this morning in the shower, I don't know what ghosts, I don't know what witchcraft the War Eagles have cast on Jordan-Hare Stadium. That place is haunted. That place is freaky. It's a night game. Remember the last Bama night game? Auburn's got nothing to lose. Bama has everything to lose. Auburn is just playing with pure hatred. Give me Auburn.
Give him the Auburn Tigers in the upset pick. Will not have us going across the board with Alabama because I'm leaning in that direction. But then I thought to myself, I said, what's the iconic moment? Jake, I think you happened to mention it. It was Auburn's going to win the football game. As
Here
you
goes
watch him
Davis.
run up the sideline in the biggest moment in this rivalry's history, a moment that will never be forgotten in college football history. Why did they kick the 50-some yard field goal when they have terrible kickers? Bama has horrible kickers. It doesn't make any sense. They have every position unlocked. They put as many NFL guys as you can think of in the NFL, but then they have Will Reichard one year and it's like, or a couple years, and it's like, man, this guy's awesome. Why don't we do this all the time? And then they come up and have another terrible kicker. There's those flashbacks that you have to have if you're a Bama fan, watching the kick go up and land in the Auburn team's hands. But I'm not crazy. I don't think Auburn's very good. I don't think Ashton Daniels is very good. They have an interim head coach. They can't win this football game. Give me the Crimson Tide to beat the Auburn Tigers. But man, if it comes down to a last minute field goal, anything can happen in Jordan Hare.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Maggie, I do not. I wouldn't trust anything in the hands of Connor Talty. He's looked horrendous this year. Well, I will say, if I speak bad on him, Alabama fans will crucify me. The true Alabama fans, because you're not supposed to boo our guys, which I'm indifferent about. When you're as bad as Connor Talty has been this year, I don't think it's a horrible to do.
Yeah.
If we booed Will Riker, the NCAA all-time leading scorer, that's one thing. If we boo Connor Talty, who is like 60% on field goals this year, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I touched on, Ty hasn't looked as good this year, but like they all mentioned, Auburn has nothing to lose. And maybe not making a bowl game, but how big of a deal is that in the grand scheme of things that you're not in the ReliaQuest Bowl? Like it's not that big of a deal. But getting that sixth win, you have that extra passion added on to already the passion with the Iron Bowl and how high the stakes are, and just like what Q mentioned, the pure hatred of Alabama as well. I think the big key to this game is limiting turnovers. That's what Ryan Grubb, our offensive coordinator, stated before the Oklahoma game. And if you look at the turnover disparity that game, I believe it was 3-0. We had 3 turnovers, an interception, a fumble, and a loss of down on a fourth down. I think the big thing is the turnover, limiting the turnovers. I'll mark it down right here. Mark me down for this. If Ty Simpson fumbles this game, we lose just once, and loses a fumble, we lose this game. But, if Ty Simpson, I don't care if he has an interception, but if Ty Simpson can have a consistent game, limit the turnovers as much as possible, I think we could probably win by 14 or 21. Just like you mentioned, this Tigers team isn't that good. Now, if you put Deuce Knight in there at halftime after Ashton Daniels is playing poorly, that changes things. But, yeah, I got Alabama by probably 14 on this game, although I'm probably a little optimistic.
Yeah, and this is going to be a very fun one to tune into because no matter the situation, either team can win. That's what makes a great rivalry a great rivalry. Moving on into our last one here. Everybody that has watched the channel knows I am a massive Virginia Tech Hokies fan. And there is a lot to look forward to in the near future. But this team this season has been about as bad as it gets. It's not been that much fun. It's my final year at Virginia Tech. And I went and watched every single game and stayed until the last second and watched my team get their hind end kicked more than one time. But if you know anything about this rivalry, it's that one side absolutely owns it, which I'll talk more about in just a minute. But first, I'll dive into the statistics here for Kyron Drones, who will be the starting quarterback of the Hokies. There's obviously the rumors. Will they go with a Pop Watson, who played against Virginia last year and looked really good against this Cavaliers unit? But it wasn't the same team. The Cavaliers have put a lot of money into this squad. They had an anonymous donor give $50 million to the university this offseason. I think that right there is an example of what can happen if you fund your program. The Hokies, they decided they finally wanted to do it, but they did it a little bit too late to save the team that is currently on the field. The future looks bright. But drone statistics, 1,800 yards, 16 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He is highly prone to make a bad decision, fumble, interception. He does it once a game. It is just something that he does. He can't really read the football field all that well, and he just didn't develop that trait when he stepped into the Hokies' backfield. And he has the talent. You see the flashes. You see the deep ball that he connects on here and there. You see the rushing upside that he has here and there. He wears the number 1 and looks like Jalen Hurts. Heck, he just about has the level of passing ability Hurts has. Hurts just has the best offensive line in the NFL and a couple receivers that are the best in the league. So let me stop hating on Jalen Hurts, but Kyron Drones just isn't all that great. And if he's starting this game, I hope he puts everything on the line. I hope he lays it all out there for the Tech fans that even booed him. We'll see what kind of passion he plays with in this football game. Q, I think you've got me covered on the quarterback on the other side. You can speak about your man, Chandler Morris.
Let's get in on Chandler real quick. So we're looking at 2,404 yards, hitting a completion percentage of 66.6. I'd like to point out that is Chandler's highest rate completion percentage since 2022. Fifth year guy. It's all been in the 60s. We're looking at second highest, 215 completions out of 323 attempts, only thrown for 14 TDs, 7 interceptions. Gonna put the disclaimer, Dr. Jeff, if you see this, please don't rescind my offer. Thank you, UVA, for giving me my master's. How is Chandler Morris basically putting up Kyron drone stats and they are a ranked team? I'll get in on that a little later, but let's look at the comparison side by side. He has more touchdowns, same number of interceptions. We'll get into that. Love Chandler, but
Yeah. I mean, as a Tech fan that have watched both teams, I love to hate watch UVA about as much as I love to watch Tech play. Chandler Morris is certainly an interesting quarterback because in the Florida State game, he throws 3 interceptions. But when it mattered most down the stretch, he figured out a way to win that game for him. So he makes the mistakes, he makes the dumb decisions, but he also does score on the ground a little bit, which helps out his rushing stats, which is some of those touchdowns being taken from him. But also, he has a running back who Parker will talk about in just a second that steals a lot of his touchdowns when they get down towards the red zone. I think Chandler Morris is the better quarterback in this one, but it is interesting that the stats don't look crazy different. Now, he has missed a game or two, I believe, with injuries, and Drones hasn't. So there's some of those statistics coming off the board for Chandler Morris. Diving into the running backs here, Virginia Tech has a running back that unbelievable that he came from Division II. He's a guy that has NFL looks as a junior in college and was never going to get that opportunity 2 years ago, playing at Division II school where he was incredible, had well over 1,000 total yards from scrimmage. But Elijah Brooks has done a phenomenal job at scouting players in the running back room. He found Bashal Tutin, a future NFL running back. And now he's found Marcellus Hawkins, who feels like he can be that. Terrion Stewart, when he was healthy, was a really good running back for us. But the issues that he's had with his health makes it almost unplayable. The big name in this one to watch out for is freshman Jeffrey Overton Jr. Having an incredible last 2 weeks. Looks like that burst has returned. He had the torn ACL, but he's figured things out. He's gotten rolling. And the ground game is absolutely what Virginia Tech will rely on. It will be Kyron Drones, Marcellus Hawkins, and Jeffrey Overton running the ball 40 times because Virginia doesn't stop the run very well. That's one of the issues they've had this year is the run game can kind of eat them alive. It'll be interesting to see what happens in this one, and I think Tech has to get the ground game going if they want to have a chance. Jake, you got anything to say about those running backs?
Yeah, I mean we've had a pretty good couple years of running
Yep.
backs here at Tech. They've all put up real numbers. I know this year. I mean, I would like to saw what Hawkins could have done last year whenever we had a team that actually had some energy about them, had an actual head coach. Really hoping he's staying around for next year, but we'll have to see. But I think he can really do great things at Tech.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a guy that he has that look to the NFL, but he can maybe boost his stock even more. Just depends. I will let you, Parker, go ahead and handle the conversation here with Jamari Taylor.
We got Jamari Taylor right here with 187 carries, so he totes the rock quite a bit with 917 yards and 13 touchdowns, like you mentioned. Steals a lot of those touchdowns right there with 4.9 yards per carry.
Yeah, and he is the key. He is the cog. He is the person that makes that offense run. He is the most important player for them on the field. They have to have Jamari Taylor going at a high level if they want to come in here and have an offense like they've had. Key player could be missing on the other side of the ball, which I'll talk about in a second. But first, I'll look at this receiving attack. Aiden Green is going to be the lead receiver at Virginia Tech. Absolutely hope he comes back next year and plays for the Hokies. Had some really great catches last week. If you get him the ball, the man can make plays. You look past him, you have a couple names to watch out for. Cam Selden potentially, Kai Heath. It's really not great behind him. We don't know what else we have at the receiver position. You're going to hope maybe some of the younger guys can step up in this game, but it'll be interesting to see what we do. For Virginia, I will give a quick rundown on Trell Harris. Tech don't have anybody who can cover this guy. We don't have the best secondary, especially because we've had guys enter the portal. We've had injuries occur. It's going to be IBM on him if he lines up out on the outside. IBM has a chance to stop him. He's our best corner, and he's easily our best corner. It's really not debatable. Our secondary, in the back end of it, the safeties can maybe help out and try to stop him, but if Trell Harris gets going, it could get scary, especially if Chandler Morris is having the kind of game that he could have leading into this one. moving down into the defense, I'm going to talk about the Hokies because there's a guy here that I absolutely hope returns and plays for the Hokies next year. This is a top 10 defensive tackle in Mel Kiper's big board going into next year's NFL draft, and that's Kamari Copeland, a guy that lifted 600 pounds 10 times before the season started, made it on Bruce Feldman's freak list because he is a freak. He is absolutely that at the interior defensive line position. He gets after the quarterback at a high level, and if there's anybody that can make Chandler Morris look like Anthony Calandria did when Antoine Powell Ryland buried him a few years ago, I'm hoping Kamari Copeland can get back there and do that to him. We absolutely need it. We have to get back in the backfield and not let Chandler Morris pick us apart. Moving into our linebacking core, we have some really nice guys there. Caleb Spencer stepping up as a linebacker so far this year. Caleb Woodson, of course, returning from what was a 3 to 4 week injury could also be important. And the freshman, Noah Chambers, absolutely deserves a shout out. He is a behemoth of a linebacker as a freshman. Absolutely a guy you want to hold on to going on to next year's Virginia Tech football roster. That's all I have to say about statistics. Obviously, me and Jake have more of a bit in this, as well as Mr. Q there. So I will first start out with Joey, who hasn't had much room to talk. What do you think in this one as you see the Cavaliers are 9.5 point favorites?
Yeah, UVA this year has been able to win big games and seal up their victories, whereas Tech has not. But I'm gonna go with the Cavaliers on this one. I just think they're the better overall team. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize in advance for that. But yeah, I'm gonna go UVA on this one. Always a heated rivalry. I expect a really good game, but go on UVA.
Yeah, and that is sickening to hear to my ears. But I will lean over into Parker Spencer here and let him give us his pick.
ACC's wild right now, and I got shout out Cooper Hurst right here, big UVA fan. But I do want to see what the ACC looks like if Tech wins this game, and if Tech runs the ball like they did against Miami last week, they will absolutely win. So give me the Hokies, baby.
Absolutely a great pick from guest. He will be welcome back on this podcast anytime. Parker Spencer. I will now go over to Mr. Jake Altizer and his buddy sitting beside him, Mr. Q. What is your picks going to be there, guys?
Yeah, go ahead, Luke.
Oh, you go, buddy.
All right. Well, for starters, I mean, a lot of people call this a rivalry. It's not much of a rivalry, to be honest with you. In the past 22 years, we've won 20 times.
Yep.
I mean, how do you call it a rivalry? This is Virginia's Super Bowl every year. I mean, it's just another game for us most of the time. Yes, we are down this year, and we're obviously not the favorites, but it's a family tradition. I mean, you cannot beat what's happened over the past couple 20 or 2 decades. I mean, come on. So, all I can say is if they win this year, they better get comfortable losing again because it's we got Franklin coming in and our recruits are pulling in. So I obviously have the Hokies here. It's just in our blood to beat UVA.
Mr. Q?
Before I give my pick, I want to talk a little about my boy Cam Robinson out with a knee injury. Only UVA defensive player with not one but two pick sixes. He's the only UVA player with a pick six this season. Um, Obviously his presence is going to be missed. Top defensive linebacker, I would say top defensive player for the team.
Yep.
It's going to be rough, not seeing him play this week. This year, UVA has won big. They've lost worse. It's been a up and down, first year WA fan. Not because they're giving me money or anything, and not because my opinions have been bought. What scares me the most coming into this week is we're looking at a 3-8 Virginia Tech and a 9-2 UVA. UVA trying to keep playoff hopes alive, trying to keep ACC championship hopes alive. And yet their school's putting out promotional videos, hyping up the rivalry, hyping up Virginia Tech more than they're hyping up their own school. In no world should UVA walk in and lose this game. Yeah, statistically, it's not even that much of a rivalry. Y'all usually own UVA. This is the year. This is UVA's year. This is, when they're supposed to put the business on. I don't like how much I'm seeing Tech hyped up from UVA. I'm not liking, Cam being out, not liking the stats. But Virginia Tech will not win this game. UVA is either going to win it or UVA is going to lose it. The ball will be in Mr. Morris's hands. He will decide this game. I'm leaning towards a UVA win, but I could see it going as a UVA L.
Yeah, and
All I know is it's not Tech's game. It's UVA's to choke.
yeah, and we have been given the moniker the Chokies. It's been a name that has been given to Virginia Tech in the past, and it is something that they have still done up until recently. Now, this team couldn't really choke because they were never the favorites, so not a lot of games to lose late in the game. But Virginia Tech has a way of going into Lane Stadium North and capturing victories. They've done it since 2004. And like Jake said, that rivalry has been extremely lopsided. The most lopsided rivalry in college football, actually. There was a couple games in there, a couple teams that had some pretty lopsided rivalries. Tennessee and Vanderbilt, not the same. Alabama's beat Auburn quite a bit, but still not the same lopsided rivalry. And with this game being as big as it is for one side, not the Hokies side of things, the 9-2 Virginia Cavaliers could care less if they make the playoffs. They want to win this game more than they want to win any game they've ever played in. And that's how it is every year they play this game. They have a counter on the wall, and it says, how many days until we play the Hokies yet again? Virginia Tech looks at this game like, when do we get a beat up on little brother yet again? And the bullying Tech they've done over the last few years is just not kind. We've had some really bad football teams, and it doesn't matter. Pop Watson made his first start in a legit situation where he was thrown under the fire and it didn't matter. He ran one down the sideline and walked out of bounds in front of Anthony Calandria, and the picture I'll never forget is Calandria's smile on his face because he knew that he was little brother. Virginia, they don't have a chance in this football game. They don't have a chance in this football game because Kyron Drones, as much hate as he's got this year, he's going to run for 100 plus yards. Marcellus Hawkins, future NFL running back, is going to run for 100 plus yards. Freshman, future of the Virginia Tech Hokies, Jeffrey Overton, is going to run for 100 plus yards. Heck, I could grab my grandma and she would run for 100 plus yards. The Hokies will dominate the UVA Cavaliers in Charlottesville in the cold weather where it's a man's game. Give me the Hokies by 40.
Another thing, Matt, I keep on hearing is, oh, look at our trophy case. Look at our trophy case. This is football we're talking about here. We're not talking about anything else.
Exactly. We don't care about the academics. We ain't wearing a suit and tie to the football game because it's a football game. Give me the Hokies by 40, and that's all I have to say. If you are a UVA fan, you better hope you get one now because you ain't getting one for at least the next 5 years. James Franklin's coming to town to roll through the Cavaliers from now until the end of time. That's all I have to say. If you've tuned into today's Sideline Shenanigans podcast, you've witnessed history. We've had the debut of Parker Spencer, the young superstar in debuting and giving us running back stats. You've seen the first Virginia fan that we've had on the podcast, and West Virginia fan, of course, growing up that way. And Luke Wesenberry, a great man, glad that he was able to join us. I hate that his team has to see defeat yet again. You've seen Joey Simmons, who's been a recurring guest, who's been on here more than once, and will be on here yet again in the near future. And you've seen the man, the myth, the legend himself, the Hokie fan that is Jake Altizer, who will be on here in the near future when James Franklin's in town next season and when the Hokies get right. Watch out if you are a fan of the Hokies and you're seeing this on Thanksgiving. Look out for the scoops that we're going to be getting as the Virginia Tech Hokie 4-star commits come pouring in. Something that we haven't seen in years. The gates have opened and the Hokies are back. This is the start of the future of Virginia Tech. Parker, you are the special guest. You are the first time, other than Mr. Q, we'll go to you in a second. Parker, give me your final remarks and how you feel being on the podcast today.
Well, I absolutely enjoyed it, even though it is 1:15 in the morning right now, and I have pineapple shrimp in the fridge waiting on me from Red Flower.
Absolutely.
Already destroyed a vegetable fried rice, by the way, in one of these 10-minute intermissions. Absolutely enjoyed it. Dr. Pepper right here. What you said. James Franklin's back. Tech's back. I'm so glad West Virginia doesn't play Tech in the next 5 years. We would get smoked. It's back. The Hokies are back.
The Hokies are back, baby. Thank you, Parker, for hyping me up just a little bit more. Joey, again, you've been a reoccurring guest, so I'll skip over you for just a second and give Mr. Q his time. Q, if you got anything else you want to add, your time is now.
Perfect. I've been holding on to this one for a second. Like Parker just said, happy we're not playing Tech for the next 5 years. Gives James Franklin plenty of time to get fired and Rich Rod to find another 6-6 job so that the WVU Mountaineers can scoop in and pick James Franklin up to lead us to a paradise. Truly cannot wait to see that play out in a few years. Um, I think all in all, great time being on the Shenanigans. Loved it. Think Tech has just as much of a chance to win this weekend as Auburn does, and I am serious about that.
Yeah.
Think it's a matter of how bad the favorited teams come in and play. It's going to be a great week of football, boys. I'm truly excited. Thank you for having me on, Mr. Maggard, and I can't do that, but screw the Hokies.
Thank you, Mr. Q, for joining us. He was a special guest as well, coming on for the first time. Joey, you are a reoccurring guest. I'll let you have your time now if you got anything else you want to add.
But yeah, looking forward to the slate of games. I need a big win from my Alabama Crimson Tide this week to secure our playoff spot. But yeah, looking forward to a beatdown of the Hokies as well this Saturday at 7. Yeah, man, thank you for having me on, Maggard. No, I probably just committed treason, but yeah.
Yeah, no longer is he welcome back on the podcast. Jake, I left you for last here because you're going to say some positive things that I want to hear. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, but I don't want to talk too much trash. I know if there's a year that we're going to lose, it's going to be this year, but it's not going to be. Yeah, we literally just own Virginia in every aspect. So, they can look forward to that for at least another 5 years. If we lose this year, just remember it's coming next year for some more BTA.
Yes, sir. That is exactly it. That is the facts. I will say, to give them their props, the West Virginia Mountaineers did put some money into their program, so I hope that the future of the program looks bright for them. Virginia's not getting a word from me because I don't care. It's hate week, baby. Thank you so much for joining the podcast again, everybody. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, comment. It will help out the channel a lot. And again, we'll have a lot of these guys back, hopefully, for the future of the podcast. Some more college football, some mock drafts that I'll look into. Joey will certainly join me for one of those in the near future. I've enjoyed you guys being here, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Thank you, sir.